play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky in Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining. And this is just when I geek out. It's I may talk about video games, I may talk about comic books, I may talk about movies, TV shows, or I may talk about role-playing games and video games and board games and all kind of good stuff. But it's just when I play, have fun, and just generally get my geek on. So thanks for joining again. This today's show, I don't think I've quite had this topic before in the history of the show, where it's RPG related, tabletop RPG related, perhaps even comic book related. But we're going to talk about RPG art, the art that graces tabletop RPGs. And we're going to talk with somebody who's in that world, who does it and does it well, and get some insight onto maybe how they got into it and what it involves and just what they like to do. Also, regarding our guest, it came to my attention after we had recorded this episode that he will be an honored guest at GaryCon in March of 2022. So that's pretty cool. Our guest this time around is Ed Bickford, a.k.a. Metal Robot. And so happy to have you, Ed. Welcome to Shane Plays Geek Talk.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I know we've chatted some over Facebook. We got to meet face-to-face at North Texas RPG Con. Which I was so glad was back on. I really enjoyed going this year. North Texas RPG Con, listeners of the show and people that know me personally know that I kind of don't shut up about it. I really like North Texas RPG Con a lot. So, it's small, it's intimate, you get to meet cool people. It's focused on the kinds of tabletop RPGs that are near and dear to my heart. So, what is your history with North Texas? Are you a regular attendee?
Oh, that was actually my first con. Been to I think I might have been to one or two like itty bitty cons in Kansas City where I'm from, but that was actually the first game con I've been to and actually traveled out of state. And I was just supposed to go there and hang out with my buddy Levi Combs from Planet X Games and Skeeter Green and the rest of that crew there, Ian McGarty and the rest of the crew there, yeah. And I was supposed to just hang out with them at their table, and I got there, and I got there Wednesday because I like to always get there a night before so I can just.
I wish I could do that because I hear Wednesday night is a lot of fun at North Texas.
It was fun. So I got there, I didn't know anybody. And so I just kind of milled around, and I didn't bring anything but original art because I just figured I'd bring a couple portfolios for some original art because Levi wanted to buy some, and Skeeter wanted some of his stuff he got published, and so I was walking around and I met all the people that I met online and stuff, and I ended up meeting Jason Brown. He was like, hey, he looked at my stuff and he's like, hey, I have a table that I didn't know I had. And I didn't bring any art, so if you want,
that was nice of him.
Would gladly share my table with you. And I was like, you sure? Because I've been to a few cons. I know how much room I take up on a table, right? So I was like, okay. So we did that, and then I think we did Thursday and Friday. And then Friday night, he's like, hey, you can have the whole table Saturday and Sunday because I got panels and I got this and that I'm going to do. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I felt really bad because But he only had like a backpack and like some maybe postcards.
Yeah, he had he had a small kind of plastic container with some of his artwork in it. I remember looking at both of your artwork. I remember him sitting there with you. So
yeah, we had a blast. Me and him connected immediately, and we had so much fun the whole weekend. We just basically him and I hung out the whole weekend.
Yeah, the artist row back there. I mean, that's kind of a grandiose name for it, but there's a certain section of the area at North Texas RPG Con where there's several booths in a row that are for the artist. A couple of years ago, you would have been hanging out, and hopefully in the future, you would have been hanging out with Larry Elmore and Jeff Easley as well, because they often come to North Texas and they just hang out back there. And there, one thing about North Texas, you could talk to anybody. It's very intimate. Nobody's up on a pedestal, I love just browsing around. Half of the reason I go is just to browse around and talk to the vendors and the people that with booths and stuff. But yeah, I love your art.
Thank you.
I encourage people to follow Ed Bickford. I think you do it under Ed Bickford, but you might have a Metal Robot page too. But every day or almost every day you'll post lunchtime. This is what I did at lunchtime today. And and I'm sure there's a lot of artists out there that want to punch you in the face because what you quote unquote do at lunchtime is a lot. You get a lot done in your lunchtime. There's fully finished, sometimes even colored stuff, and it looks really good across. It might be sci-fi, it might be fantasy, it might be kind of gritty urban. So you cover a wide variety of stuff. And then
also,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say also sometimes it's not finished, and I do the colors. If I don't know what to draw, like I might go back and color an older picture for my lunch. So it's not all, I'm not making the Sistine Chapel in an hour lunch, but I mean, it might take a couple lunches.
They're more than rough sketches. I'll just put it that way. So yeah. I'm like, that looks fantastic. So you don't just stick to one subject, you're not, and there's nothing wrong with this. I love pseudo medieval RPG art of the guy with the sword. I love that. But that, some people, that's all they do. It's gritty, but it's also a little whimsical, a little cartoony. You definitely have your own style. So let's do this real quick. I normally ask this towards the end of the show, but since I'm already making notes on it, I know you have an ArtStation page for Metal Robot.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll make sure to link that in the show notes. So search for Metal Robot do you search for Ed Bickford or Metal Robot on ArtStation? Because Metal Robot's the name of your studio, right? Was that the right way to put it?
Yeah, I would say that. It's just edbickford.artstation.com.
Okay, and then if people want to follow you on Facebook, do they follow Ed Bickford or is there a
Metal Robot Ed Bickford? Page? I've tried to be all prestigious, and because I'm a big fan of the golden age of illustrators. Like I don't know if a lot of people know who Edwin Georgi or Edwin Austin Abbey or anything like that. So I tried to do, for a while there, I was trying to do Edwin Bickford, and then there was like another Edwin Bickford in San Diego I saw that was an artist, and I was like, so I'll do Edwin B. Bickford III, but it just got too much to say all the time because I remember when I was in the military, it just sucked signing that payroll signature.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be all something and I wasn't, and it sounded like, Edwin B. Bickford III. It sounded like I would show up to a con on a yacht or something. So I just
with a smoke. oh, lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the Commodore.
Yeah, that's too funny.
So and everyone just calls me Ed, so I just shortened it to Ed Bickford. I've been trying to do that, even though my signature on my art is still EBB3 for Edwin B. Bickford III, which is
right.
I like that signature, and I don't like the way that Ed Bickford looks like. I just think the EBB3 is pretty cool.
It's got a ring to it, yeah.
Yeah.
So on Facebook it's Ed Bickford, on ArtStation it's Ed Bickford. Do you
on ArtStation it is Ed Bickford, yes. Instagram, I believe. I know Twitter's at Edwin Bickford. Let me look at Instagram. It's metal_robot on
okay, so on Instagram, you're Metal Robot. I love your logo, by the way, for Metal Robot. That's a cool logo.
Thanks. I forget what I was doing, and I was like, oh my God, that's cool, because it's kind of, if you hear the name Metal Robot, I'm like, of course robots are made out of metal. Right. And then you see the logo, you're like, oh, not that kind of metal.
Yeah, he's flashing the horns at you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Either he's flashing the horns or he's about to shoot webbing. We don't know.
Yeah, I'll change it to Spider-Man Robot.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Spider Metal Robot. So Iron Spider Robot. So
there you go.
All right, but anyway, that's cool. So that's how people can find you and check out your art.
Right.
And you're doing art I know you're doing art for tabletop RPG products.
Huh?
What else are you currently? Have you not done some work for comic books? Am I misunderstanding?
I've done self-published comic books.
Okay.
And I didn't have the success I really wanted in there, because I was hoping that I would make it bigger, but I didn't. Mm. I don't think I might have had a small base following, maybe locally, or maybe I had a small audience, and it just wasn't. I wasn't in the public eye as much as I would like to get my art out there more.
Right.
And so eventually it got to the point where I just kind of reflected on what I was doing, what I was putting into this and what I was getting out. Because, I mean, you spend a year and a half to make a graphic novel. And then, you sell it for $5, $10 after you just worked a year and a half on something. But I worked with my buddy Aaron Walther, who was my writer for quite a few things. And I'm a syndicated cartoonist. We're on gocomics.com. So I'm actually syndicated with Charlie Brown and Calvin and Hobbes and all that.
So what is your?
It's called American Chop Suey.
American Chop Suey. Okay.
It's about a master origami rabbit, a rabbit that's a master in origami, and he's crossing the Great Plains of North Dakota to go to the biggest scrapbooking convention in the state. And runs across these little prairie dog ninja scouts that are trying to strong arm him to buy cookies so they can make enough money to buy into Dark Miso's evil pyramid marketing scheme. And it just goes off the rails from there.
GoComics.com. Okay.
It's sort of in the comic strip format, but yet it's a graphic novel. So it's kind of, And it was.
Is this the graphic novel you did? But now you're kind of.
I have this one. We actually we self-published this, and then I have one called The Birdlander, and I have another one that was a spinoff from The Birdlander that I still need to finish. I have 18 pages to do. Sorry, Aaron, that I have to finish that. But got to the point where I did all this work and it wasn't paying off. I just felt like it wasn't paying off, so I kind of did some self-reflecting and thought about things. And I'm like, well, what are you making here? I mean,
you have a full-time job, by the way. So you're doing all this.
Yes. I have a full-time job. I have 5 kids. I got 2 dogs.
You have 5 kids?
Yes. I have one boy that just graduated. I think he got his associate's degree.
Wow.
And I have a boy that's 20. He'll turn 21. So that means my oldest is 23.
I wouldn't have guessed meeting you that you're old enough to have kids that are already.
Yeah. My daughter, who's the middle child, she just went off to Iowa State this fall. So that's a big thing we're trying to learn to adjust with that and school starting this fall. So it's kind of set me back. And I have another one another boy that graduates next year, and he's joining the Army. And then I got a 10-year-old that we don't know when we're going to get rid of him.
It'd be like, remember the Cosby Show? He'd always say, "I don't want you out of my life. I just want you out of my house."
Right.
I don't want you out of my life. I just want you out of my house.
Right.
Yeah, that's wonderful, though. I love big families.
Yeah, we're pretty close. We my wife's parents live 7 houses down from us, so that really helped out a lot because when I wasn't
grandparent support, heck yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that helps so much. Well, let me before I forget to ask. So American Chop Suey was a graphic novel, but now you're sort of serializing it on Go Comics. Is that what's happening? Okay.
It was serialized on Go Comics, and we had an option that if we got offered someone to publish it as a book form, that they would have the option to do it first. Right. We thought it was brilliant and it was amazing and stuff. And of course, every time you make something, you always think think something you make is that way, and it didn't work out that way.
There's so many amazing things out there that don't hit the spark for some reason. I mean,
right.
Some stuff is genuinely amazing and just doesn't get.
And I just think that I don't think we got the audience. I don't think we hit the target for the with the audience that would be for. And so we did all this, and I did the graphic novel, and we got picked up by a British publication, Comic House, which is spelled House, and we got picked up for them. They wanted they wanted the Birdlander, which we did, but we were like, well, so we made up a whole spinoff for them, and I think we got into 6 issues, which is only I think we only did. I want to say it was only. I think we did 6 pages per. It was a anthology, so we did 6 pages per book, and I think by 6 he's like, it costs too much to send your guys' copies and the books overseas to you, so we're just gonna finish it and then we'll make it into a graphic novel. And then I forget what happened. I think I got some other work to do or something happened. And I still need to finish that. But
well, let me just say, a lot of people never hit a point. So let me. I know a lot of people that are in indie comics, and indie RPGs. So first of all, it's really hard to get somebody who is not a friend or family member to decide your work is good enough to publish. Okay, so you hit a milestone there a couple of times, right? And then it's even harder to be profitable. So, the very fact that an independent, and by independent, I mean third party organization, entity thought your stuff was good enough to publish, I mean, that's a milestone a lot of people don't hit.
Right.
So congratulations there.
Thanks.
So anyway, continuing on.
But the Birdlander, I think we went through 2 or 3 small publishers, but I think they fell through. They closed up shop before we could get anything really off the ground, I believe. Or we left because they were supposed to help promote us, and I just felt like your publisher should help promote you instead of just instead of just retweeting your tweets about your promotions,
Yeah, I'm a co-author on a book, and I'm so excited to have a book out there with my name on it, but they did no promotion. I mean, it's it either sells or it doesn't, so yeah.
Right. So we did that, and it didn't work out the way I wanted. I wanted this to be the thing that got me out of my day job so I could do this full time. And it did not do that. And so I took some time to reflect, and I thought about things. And I'm like, well, what did you really read as comics as a kid? And I thought about it, and I really didn't read. I mean, I read Chris Claremont's X-Men because it was amazing. But other than that, I could never read any other. I mean, I collected Daredevil, and I collected anything with Wolverine. But I started thinking about this stuff. I was like, you really didn't. I read mostly like hardcore, like not like porn, but just adult comics, like Heavy Metal, Epic Magazine, Savage Tales.
We were talking before the show started recording about heavy metal in the 80s, right? Which that you loved the European style of art.
Yes. European, and I think South American too, because that's my favorite artist for comics is Juan Jimenez. I would say I like him maybe just a little bit more than Mobius, because Mobius is a god, but I think Juan Jimenez, I like him more. I just think I like his sensibility and his technology and all that stuff. And so the Meta Barons. You ever read the Meta Barons?
Sounds so familiar. Hold on a second. I'm looking him up right now.
You see it, you'll see his art. And you go, oh yeah, I know that. All right, so I just thought about. I did some soul searching. I thought about what I was making and what I was influenced by when I was growing up, and it didn't meet up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I stopped for a while and trying to figure out what I was doing, and one day it hit me as like they always tell writers to write what you know. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, how come they don't tell artists to do that? How come they don't tell artists? Because I did 10 years in the military, and after that I did 5 years. I did 5 years maintenance on copy machines, and I also did 2 years maintenance at Chuck E. Cheese on all the rides and games and everything in there. And so I was like, well,
hold on, I got to stop you there. So is Five Nights at Freddy's autobiographical? Do the animatronics come to life at night and chase the maintenance people around?
No. Well, they might, but because I was working on the Chuck E. Cheese robot, and it fell apart and fell on top of me.
So it may or may not come to life, but you found a gag order. So
yeah. But so I took that, and I was like, well, and you need to start drawing all the stuff all these mechanical stuff and your hoses and clamps and all that. So I started doing that. And there was a Comic-Con. I love going to Comic-Cons. I just like that, I love going to them and seeing the people and seeing all the art and my friends and everything and seeing what's new. And I was going to go to a con, but I didn't have anything to publish or to take with me to sell. And so my buddy, Alex Madej, was like, and I've been drawing all these old school looking robot pictures. He's like, why don't you just why don't you make an art book and just use all the robots you've been drawing? So I was like, okay. So I started making all these robot pics. And then I was posting them online to show people. And a friend of mine that had moved out to, I think, Portland, Oregon or Seattle or something like that. He used to work with me when I worked at a grocery store when I was going through college. He took my art and then put the Amazing Stories logo on it from the 40s and stuff. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. So I started making these. I started making these old, fake looking, I mean, not fake looking, but old faux sci-fi magazine covers. So I started doing that, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if people go to your art station, they'll definitely see that kind of influence. And it looks great. Like I said, you've got your own style. It's interesting you mentioned that, the write what you know, draw what you know. You could almost write what you know, draw what's in your heart, like what naturally you tend towards, which that brings up a question I was going to ask you anyway, so I'm going to kind of steer us over there. But before I do that, is there any other influences? You mentioned Juan Jimenez. I don't know if this fits your style of stuff you like or not, but for some reason I thought of Jeff Darrow. Are you a Jeff Darrow fan at all? Like hard?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, actually, I think he studied under Mobius.
Did he? Okay.
I think he was an assistant or something for Mobius. So that's why he has that linear ridiculousness that Mobius has.
Right. Yeah. And, Mobius. I'm just now reading the Inkle stuff.
Oh yeah, I have like the giant version of that. I bought it. I think I was on sale 20% off, and I was like, I'm buying that. I think it's like 11 by 17. It's huge.
And that really, the Inkle stuff really does live up to the word of mouth that it gets.
Nice.
It's really good. So it's not only is it obviously the art is amazing, but Jodorowsky wrote it.
Right. We were just talking about him Friday.
Oh, yeah. Well, you wrote it. Yeah. So the story is really interesting as well.
Here's the thing: Jodorowsky also wrote the Meta Barons. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking through that art. I did recognize it. I went and looked through there. So, is there any other, other than that, quote unquote, 80s style heavy metal? Is there any other kind of art influences?
Yeah, I would say that Jimenez is my favorite comic book artist, but my favorite artist is probably Robert McGinnis, who painted like a lot of pulp novel covers and like the James Bond movie posters from back in the day.
I was just say I love looking at old, like one of my like Tumblr things that I follow is like old pulp magazine covers.
Dude, go to Pinterest. I have like boards and boards and boards of old school magazine covers and pulp and stuff on pins. It's at Edwin Bickford on Pinterest.
Okay, yeah, I love that. I don't know. I love looking at those old, especially the sci-fi.
I have sci-fi. I even have some artists. I even have a Jimenez page. I got a Bill Sienkiewicz page. I got a Kobe Whitmore page. Al Williamson. Yeah. I love Ashley Wood. I started a Sergio Tapia page as well.
I'm not familiar with that.
You see his stuff, you'll know who he is. And then I also started a Sumi painting because I really love the brushwork of like Japanese and Chinese Sumi painting.
So out of all those that you mentioned, Sienkiewicz is the closest. I love Sienkiewicz because I'm a huge comic book guy from the 80s onwards, and he did a lot of comic book work. But he also just has a bonkers great style that's all his own. Like he's
not a comic book artist; he's an illustrator. That's right.
Yeah, he's an illustrator that happened to do comic books. But yeah, he did. Recently, he posted his version of the Unforgiven poster of the Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh yeah.
And somebody said, "Oh, that's so cool that you did a remake of that." And he said, "Actually, it's not a remake." He goes, "I did that and the movie people hired me to do that, and then from that they made the poster." So so he's amazing. I love Sienkiewicz. He's great. So anyway, all right. So one of the things I was going to ask you, and I'm asking this sort of from a personal standpoint too. Now, I do not consider myself a serious artist, but I do enjoy sketching and trying to get better. And so I've been doing like sketching, and I've been doing Inktober, if you're familiar with that.
Cool. Yes.
I think I'll be starting my 4th Inktober this year.
Cool.
And it is shocking me that I'm actually seeing myself get better, because I don't consider myself, I'm just like, I just want to play around. One of these days, I wouldn't mind doing like a little 1-panel webtoon for fun or something like that. But I'm not trying to become like a comic book artist or anything. There's so much effort there that at this point in my life, I'm not trying to get anywhere like that. But one thing that has surprised me is I'm like, that's better, and I've had people, and you'll know because you do creative stuff, you'll get comments from people. You're like, okay, that's genuinely good because that's not just they're being nice. Like the people like what they're seeing.
It's like being in 7th grade and your mom telling you you're the best looking kid in school, and then having the hottest girl in school tell you you're cute.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference, right? So I'm like, wow, I'm not only subjectively think that that's better, but I think I have objective evidence that I've gotten better. But what's interesting to me is I'm seeing a style, the best stuff that I think I do, I see a style in it that I never would have thought that would be my style. Right. So as an artist, does that happen? Like, do artists like see a style emerge and then lean into that? Is that what happened with you? Or because I'm like, that's not the style I would have picked, but it works. And my best stuff looks like that. So what are your thoughts on that for artists or hopeful artists that are listening to this podcast?
I chased all these different styles around all the time and tried to, because I wanted to make it so bad, the desperation thing to make it so bad and make it and have your fans. To me, being famous and having fans was a means to an end, so I could do this for a living, not just for my ego or anything like that. I just needed an audience so I could do this for a living. Mm-hmm. And so I would change up the subject matter, and I'd change up. Or I'd see somebody like Travis Charest, or I'd see somebody that was really awesome I liked, and I'd start drawing like them, or not on purpose, but just aping them a little bit. And there's a saying that says you don't get to choose your style chooses you.
Ah, okay. Well, I think I believe that now.
I do too, because if I had my way, I still beat up myself a lot because my stuff I don't draw like Frank Frazetta or Boris Vallejo, who I grew up, when I was in 7th and 8th grade. They were just they were gods to me. Right. And I still don't draw that, realistically, I guess, if you want to photo realistically, let's say that instead. And what happened was I also had a hard time trying to figure out my spotted blacks. And then I don't know what happened. I think I had some new pens and I was goofing off, and I started using a lot of dark, a lot of black ink and a lot of dark on my stuff. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa. And my shapes, and I started running with that, and then I kept getting compared to Kirby, Jack Kirby, and I never really was into Kirby and stuff. And once people started saying that, now I can, if you put a Kirby picture up, I can tell you if it's Kirby or not just by the stuff. And so yeah, I would say that it's kind of like your dream girl. Your dream girl isn't going to be the person that you fall in love with and marry. I think it's the same thing with styles too. It's whatever your dream style is, it's not what you're going to end up being. You have no idea what your style is going to end up being. Interesting. It's just whatever works for you. Because like me, I really wish I could just just sketch some stuff and throw it out there and be awesome. But I have to I got to clean it up in order to get the likes and once I started using more shape, less linear stuff like Jeff Darrow, and I started using more shape and like heavy blacks and stuff like Kirby and some of the other guys, it just all of a sudden it started working for me.
Nice. So how long have you been doing art in general? Like,
as long as I can remember. I had a funny story. I was like, I don't know how old I was. I don't think I was in first grade yet. But I remember for one Christmas, I drew all these pictures of elves loading the Christmas, the Santa's sleigh and all this stuff. And I drew like maybe 4 or 5 pieces of paper of just pictures of Santa Claus and stuff. And I left them for him to take, left them out there on Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas, I didn't care about the Christmas presents. I was more upset that Santa didn't take my pictures with him because he didn't like them. And so I thought, yeah. And my parents were like, no, he liked them. I'm like, well, how come he didn't take them home with him? Kind of thing. So
I would be like, well, he's magical. He duplicated them. And
right, I mean, I was like, of all the stuff my dad thought of, like he put a boot print in the ashes of the fireplace and everything. But you didn't take the pictures. At least hide them in the bottom of the trash or something.
Funny. Yeah, last Christmas I set an alarm and staggered out of bed. It was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning. And I'm hiding in the bathroom eating cookies I didn't want to eat. And I just wanted to get back to bed.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I know in high school, I was the guy in the back of the class who would draw all the time. And I just saw a girl, a woman. Now she's a woman now because we're the same age. But I've known her since 4th grade. And I posted something last week. And she's like, I remember seeing your pictures when we all lived in Charlestown, New Hampshire. And that was in 4th grade. So I said, did I draw all the time back then too? Because I know I drew. Oh my gosh, I drew all the time. I don't know, just have.
So when did you start saying, oh, well, I draw a lot, so maybe I'm an artist, so I'm going to start trying to quote unquote work on my craft?
I don't know, because I think a lot of people have the advantage these days because of the internet. And I don't think I had no idea how to break into comics. I just remember my sixth grade, from the book fair, I got a Flash Gordon, black and white Flash Gordon paperback. Uh-huh. And it was. I think it had to be a graphic novel back then, but I didn't realize they were crowd graphic novels back then. It was black and white Flash Gordon, and I forget what happened, but I could copy the ink out of the page, and I was like, whoa. So I remember I went home and I tried copying the Green Lantern cover and stuff like that my step grandfather had, and I realized that, hey, I could probably do this for a living. And so it's drawing comics had been my dream since 6th grade. And then which really made it really hard, around, I decided to quit comics to let go of that white knuckle grasp on that dream since I had it in 6th grade, to let go and find other means to do something with my art. And so that's still working on that. But I remember somebody told me one time, one of my buddies, when I told him I thought about quitting comics, he goes, comics is like the mafia. They're not going to let you leave. And and it's true, because I quit comics, but yet it seems like I get more work now in comics than I did when I was trying to be in comics.
Right? How ironic.
Yes, that's just the way life goes. Like, I remember when I was younger, I wanted a girlfriend so bad. My dad's like, "You'll meet a girlfriend when you least expect it. Like, you spilt a milkshake down your front of your shirt or something. You'll have stains or whatever, and you'll meet that girl." And I'm like, oh, and I feel like success is the same way on stuff. Is like, don't be so desperate, because that's a good way for failure. Being desperate, cutting corners, and just want it so bad. I think you just need to relax and take it as it comes and do your thing and find your audience, and don't change anything. Do what you like to do, and eventually your audience will find you.
Yeah. Well, if you don't do that, you'll eventually burn out. So,
right.
There has to be an element. Everybody's going to put food on the table. So I'm not.
I have a date. And that's another thing too. I was like, why am I chasing this and so desperate to make comics? I have a day job already.
Right.
It's like, I don't need.
Well, yeah, but that's existing versus thriving. You want to thrive inside and use right. what you feel your passion is. And I'm not putting down a day job. I've got a day job and it provides, and there's things about it I like. But the creative careers, or whatever you want to call it, there's some pain in there, because you're trying to express on a certain level, and it's very hard. I think even the people that make it whatever definition of make it is, they're not always doing exactly what they wanted to be doing, or
right. And that's what I wanted. Is I want to I want to make it. I want to be making what I want to make and keep it up. Because a buddy of mine, Ed LaValle, he just finally got published by Behemoth Comics. He said, because he's been successful before, and he's like, once you make it, then you have to keep on making stuff that's good to stay relevant, or else you'll disappear. You'll fall back down to the indie scene again, or whatever, or just fade out.
And the indie scene, and I know I mainly want to talk about RPG art, so I'll just say this and then shift us over there. Indie comics are pretty strong right now. There's some really good stuff happening in indie comics. So
I'm glad.
Well, Kickstarter and Indiegogo have helped that a lot. So
I just feel like mainstream comics is. I think they lack imagination, and they just keep playing the same old song. They keep on playing AC/DC TNT over and over and over again on the radio. And that's what mainstream comics just keeps playing the hits.
I would say mainstream superhero comics, for a large part, yes. Mainstream stuff like Image, I would say no, because I still think
Image still plays this. They may not play. They might play deeper cuts, but they're not playing. Not playing the most popular song, but they're still playing Lady Gaga's other songs. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, all right. So back to the original point. And I've always been a comics reader, so I see myself as like a football fan of a team. I just stick with it through the ups and downs, right? So, but there are definitely better times than others for comic books, and that's definitely true, depending on the current zeitgeist of what's happening with the creators and the readers and all that. But the indie comic scene is super strong right now, and there's some really good stuff out there. So, there's a lot of stuff getting out there that otherwise wouldn't, because of Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I mean, there's creators.
I was going to say the exact same thing just now. Yep.
Yeah, I know people that are, I personally know people that they're very easily hitting 100,000 on a Kickstarter, and so there's indie comics out there now. Marvel and DC, they still have that prestige, and they have that marketing arm, and they have that, so if you're working on Spider-Man, you're more likely to be known. Right. But there are indie books that are selling more than Marvel and DC books right now through like.
You said, did you see where the Demon Slayer manga outsold Marvel and DC?
I'm not surprised. Manga is so huge. It's like when you go to like Barnes and Noble now, there's like 3 rows of manga. I mean, it's big. It's it's no longer a niche.
I love manga because it's so. I mean, they could take story. They can make a high school into a comic. Just everyday high school stuff, and just add crazy stuff to things to make into a great story in a comic and characters.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that I did what I call Anime 101, Manga 101. Several years ago, I did an episode on that. And we keep talking about doing expand your anime and your manga, because he's very wide read. And he reads stuff that isn't just Dragon Ball or Monster Hunter or So I Woke Up as a Slime. And those are fine, My Hero Academia. But I mean, he gets into because manga covers so many genres, it's not even funny.
They have something for everybody, which is good.
They really do. Yeah. So
I don't think American comics does that.
Yeah, American comics has had a hard time breaking out of superheroes, horror, and sci-fi. Now, it does sometimes, but it's still kind of pushed into that pigeonhole, which is fine for me because I like that stuff, but it's not good for the medium as a whole, right? The industry as a whole, it's not. So anyway, let me kind of steer us over to I want to talk about RPGs, because the way that I kind of got to know you was through, you do you do work for tabletop RPGs. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that you've done for RPGs?
Well, it all started. I was in Wichita, Kansas one year for a Comic-Con.
Right.
And I was just sitting there, and I was on Artist Alley. I think I had a pretty good. I was in with the famous people, I believe. I think I was on the end or around there or so. But there was this gentleman walking around. He had a blonde, stringy hair, mustache, goatee, and he was in a black suit, walking around talking to people. And he came up to me, and I think I was the only artist that was there that gave him the time of day and took his card. And it was Casey Christopherson, who was the art director for Frog God Games.
Nice.
Yeah, and so he said, "I don't have anything for you now, so I'll get a hold of you later when I got some work for you to do." I'm like, "Okay." So I think it was like maybe 4 months later, or maybe 2 or 3 months later. Then Levi Combs from Planet X Games reaches out to me and said, "Hey, Casey, I need some art." And Casey sent my way and said, "You'd probably be my guy to ask for this stuff." And so that was the beginning of the relationship between me and Levi. We've worked on a whole bunch of stuff together. And I did stuff with Levi. So once I did that, then everyone that bought Levi's stuff was like, "Oh." And so, I got in with Zach Glazier from Frog God Games and Skeeter Green from Skeeter Green Productions.
Does Zach work at Frog God? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Dude, he cracks me up. I've run into him a couple of times at North Texas, but I've been following him on Facebook. That dude is funny.
You watched the podcast with him and Skeeter on it?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah, they have a podcast, which is pretty funny.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So
his wife's name's Jennifer, and Skeeter's wife's name's Jennifer. My wife's name's Jennifer, and then Levi's wife's name is Jeanette. So it'd be another. So we wanted to have at one point that it was 4 Jens on the podcast, all Jens. And we thought that'd be pretty funny, but I don't think it ever panned out. But
yeah, I think I'm going to reach out to Zach, because as much as I love RPGs and other,
and he also collects like old school computers. And have you seen that?
Well, that's actually what I was thinking about reaching out to him before, because I'm a retro computer nerd too.
Yeah,
and he posts a lot on that stuff, so I was thinking about reaching out to him on that. But anyway, so the RPG stuff, you got hooked up,
right? And then so I did that stuff with Levi. Then because I did with Levi, and Levi he already developed a good audience. So basically, I kind of had whatever little audience I had. I inherited Levi's audience by being in his book. So then I had all these other people, and Jim Wampler from Scientific Barbarian messaged me because he liked my stuff, and so I work with him, and then also Ian McGarty, and I can't think of who his partner is there. Drawing a blank. I'm sorry. Oh, Rocky. Sorry, Rocky. So I've done some stuff with them, and then also John Larson from Old Gator Games. He did the Broodmother game. I believe he had it at North Texas. It was his first adventure he's done so far. Done some art for that.
Tell me about the Phylactery, because I bought a couple of issues of the Phylactery.
I've got covers. I've done covers on that, and in the art. I usually don't do any of the writing, so I don't know what you want to ask me about.
I just wanted to give you a chance to, because that was I actually ordered the Phylactery. I've got 1 and 2 Planet X Games with Levi Combs. Yes. You did the cover.
I did. I'm on my 4th cover, I think, for Levi now, because I got to do the cover for the Phylactery 5 maybe, or 4. I can't remember.
It's a cool little zine. I recommend it.
It is, and he actually brought the idea up, and we entered it in the Zine Quest that year.
How did it go?
It went well. It went very well.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So basically, by talking to somebody at a con, being friendly, that created
approachable.
That created an opportunity for you to. You didn't even work directly with that person at the beginning. He introduced you to other people. So that even in the days of the internet, and there are tons of people getting connected on the internet. My Rolodex, if you will, is much stronger for still going to cons. Because there's just something about meeting somebody face to face and chatting and all that. And it's not that everyone's sitting around and gatekeeping and being like, well, that guy didn't come to a con, I'm not going to give him a job. It's the opposite direction, that you're more likely to reach out to somebody that you've met and already know that you feel comfortable talking to. So, right. So it's still worth, if you're wanting to get into any kind of creative industry, whether it's writing, comics, RPG art, or whatever, it's still worth going to cons. Be friendly and approachable, and network. And a lot of people look at networking as like kind of a slimy thing. It's not. It's just you're just meeting people.
And don't force it. Let it happen naturally. Don't follow somebody around like a puppy and
right.
Or
I imagine a lot of long going work relationships have happened at a con in the evening, sitting at the bar, would be my guess.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I went to North Texas and I met so many people. It was so overwhelming because I knew Levi and I knew Skeeter and Zach and I knew Ian from just talking to Ian and working with Ian and John, but I get to meet all of them in person for once. But then they also introduced me to so many more people in the industry. It was so overwhelming. Not in a bad way. It was just like all this information just coming at you at once. So all the different names and what people make and do. Like I met Bill and Ben Barsh. I met Jason Brown, and I don't know why, but my brain was not working right, and I called him Brandon for the first 2 days. So I met that Tom Wilson, if you know him.
Do not. Even though with North Texas being a smaller, more intimate con, there's still a ton of people I don't know. So
I met Tom Wilson. I met Jeffrey. Oh, I'm going to mess his name up. Guy that does Hyboria.
Hyboria. Yeah. So the name of the game is actually Hyperborea, not Hyboria. More completely, it's Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. Ed and I enthusiastically get the name wrong several times while discussing it. I didn't meet him, but I did have my eyes open to how popular Hyboria is. I didn't realize how I was talking to Alan Groh, who was one of the people behind Osric there, and he was there as a vendor, and he said that Hyboria sells very well.
Oh yeah, I think he is so successul with that. I believe that he said that he gets to do it full time. So he considers himself very, very blessed. So I did all that stuff, and then I also I went to panels for independent publishing. I wasn't up front with Zach and Skeeter, but I did answer questions and help give the perspective of artists on how to talk to artists and how to conduct yourself professionally with writers and publishers and whatnot, and what to expect. And
okay, let's back up. I have to zoom in on that. You said a phrase that I think a lot of people don't realize they're going to have to do: conduct yourself professionally.
Right.
Even in a smaller industry, in an independent, and this is why I was wanting to talk with you, to this stuff. Not only to help you expose your art, but to get to the business side of it. Even in a quote unquote smaller industry, in an independent environment, you still have to conduct yourself professionally. Right.
Sure.
There's going to be deadlines. There's going to be expectations. There's
going to be people you don't like.
Yeah, there's going to be people you don't like that you have to still,
or don't like you, and you still need to conduct yourself. It's just like at work at your day job. There's people that you don't like that you still have to talk to every day to get the job done.
Right, and if they're being professional, they want to get the job done too. And if you work together, you'll get the job done. So I want to make sure we've got so you do stuff for Planet X Games. Mm-hmm. Have you done anything directly for Frog God yet?
Yes, I've done stuff for Frog God and Necromancer Games, which I think that's what do you call it? It's like I think that's another publisher under Frog God, I believe.
Okay, so what?
But I think Casey Christopherson's the art director for both, I believe.
Okay, so where can people see your work for Frog God?
I am in the Swords and Wizardry box set. I have some art in that, in the books in that box set. And I think that's the only stuff I've done so far with them.
What about Necropolis?
I can't remember. I know. Levi harasses me all the time because he'll be like, hey, this book's coming out. It's published and sending him out. And I'm like, can't remember. Did I have art in that? He's like, and he'll harass me,
right.
Bust my chops and be like, dude, you did the cover.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just using it as an example. I understand. It's pretty funny. I think he did that with Phylactery 4 because I couldn't remember which one it was or whatever the one with the homage to the X-Men, the Days of Future Past.
Where it's got the different people like Skeeter's names. Yeah.
It's got Skeeter, it's got Jim Wampler on there and Zach and
it's that classic from the comic books where you had
and I'm in the corner, I'm under Robot and it says defunct. That's me.
Yeah, it's defunct instead of deceased. Yeah, the classic X-Men cover where you have the character with the spotlight on them and on the wall behind them there's the pictures of the X-Men's faces and it'll say like captured, deceased and stuff like that. Very classic cover. So I think you posted that on something, Facebook or somewhere. It looked really good.
I think everyone's receiving them now. I received mine and I see that keep on seeing people post theirs that they received them.
Yeah. So you did stuff for Planet X Games, which includes the Phylactery. What else have you done that maybe people could find out?
You had to ask me that. I'm in Scientific Barbarian 1 through.
Isn't that Jim Wampler?
Yeah, that's Jim Wampler stuff. The Scientific Barbarian stuff. I have a cover. I don't know if it's 2 or 3. I can't remember. And I think I got the cover for the annual as well. And I also have a bunch of interior art in all the Scientific Barbarians. I have. I'm sorry, Jim John Larson. I can't remember. I know it's Broodmother. Something of the Broodmother. I have a piece in that.
Yeah.
I have a piece. I can't remember what Ian McGarty's book's called, but I did a piece for them. And I have some stuff, and a buddy of mine, and him and I plan on doing a lot of work together too, is Brian Shutter from Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland.
Uh-huh.
I have a piece in his book, and I made it last minute for his book for the Neon Lords. And I also did a sticker, and I also did some art for the supplement he's making for Halloween. I worked with Randy Hayes, which I don't know if anyone knows. Randy Hayes from House Chaos Games, and I'm doing the art for his book, which is see, it's so much. I'm like trying to remember all this stuff. You know how long it took me to remember the name Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland? That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Okay. So, want to ask a question on the business side. So, if somebody's wanting to do RPG art, what does the normal process go? Now, I'm not obviously, maybe like WotC or Paizo may have a different process, but what you've experienced with the smaller indie type publishers, and Frog God is not tiny.
No,
in the indie space, they're bigger. But what's the flow? Do they reach out to you and say, "Hey, we need a piece like this"? Like, what is it like to negotiate the price, to all of that on the business end? What is it like to get a piece of art in an RPG?
I'm fortunate because because I was at that con. Casey gave me we exchanged information, and after that, everyone's been coming to me.
Okay.
And I started realizing that I like that setup a lot more than chasing down people and stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Because
okay.
I noticed that it seemed more natural instead of you trying to press somebody and chase down somebody and send them your link and get them to recognize you. As if somebody came to you and you did the work, and then when they publish the stuff, all the eyes on that work look at that, and then you have people contact you, go, "Hey, would you do that for me too?" And that's what happened. And I like that. I noticed that if I did that, that the work turned out better, and the books actually got published. And they were. I noticed that the people contacting you were more professional for some reason than you chasing down people. It just seemed more organic and more natural, and also developing business relationships and personal relationships that way as well.
So is it like, I mean, I guess on the financial, do you just have a rate sheet? Do you say like a quarter page?
I did make a rate sheet.
Okay.
Finally made one.
Does that get followed, or is that just a starting point?
I use it as a guideline. I would like to follow it, but the thing is it depends on people's budget, and if I really want my art to be in their book or whatever, or how busy I am as well, because there may be something I want to be in really bad, but like right now, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do any other work until maybe, because right now I have do you know Luau Lu from I think it's the Kids Dare Luck Club, I think it is the game.
I know the Kids Dare Luck Club, but I don't recognize.
I got like 5 illustrations to do for him. I have a cover due for Levi. I have a cover for Brian Silverbacks in comics. And then what else do I got? I'm looking at my list of stuff here. I think so. I got 5 illustrations and 2 covers to finish up before the end of September. And
okay. So you're pretty busy. Well, that's good. Good for you.
And I got my day job.
Yep. Got the day. So with like, let's say I'm a hopeful artist, and I want to get a a piece of art in an RPG, and I've got a relationship built with the art director or whatever. So, like normally from start to finish, like what kind of turnaround time do you have?
Me, it depends on my personal life, but a lot of times, I'm pretty fast. I can turn stuff around pretty fast. Depends if it's black and white or if it needs color. I would say add an extra day on color just in case. It also depends how much detail and how much stuff. Like,
well, I mean, what is what is like a week? Like, what is the expectation in the industry? I guess, like how quickly do art directors usually need something?
I don't know. Usually they give me a roundabout date and I get it done. Because I really haven't had anyone lately. I don't know if it's just because I haven't had anyone give me like a hard deadline, except for maybe a few times. Like, we need this done before October so we can put it in a book. So I'm like, okay, I'll get that done, or August or whatever. But a lot of times they're like, yeah, and because usually I just get it done and turn it into them like in a day or two, or whatever. But right now I'm pretty busy, so now I'm gonna have to start using my planner and doing stuff. But also asking for a harder deadline. But if you were an illustrator and you want to do stuff with people, I don't understand what I said, but it's also okay to reach out to somebody and go, hey, I like your book. I've played your game and stuff. I would really love to work with you guys, because I've done that with. I emailed Exalted Funeral, I like their store. And I like all the cool stuff that they carry, and I like their aesthetic and stuff. So I actually reached out and emailed Exalted Funeral asking to maybe work with them on a project sometime. They said, yeah, sure. And so they took they got my price. They get my price sheet, and they also got that's why I had to make my my online portfolio as well, to send an online portfolio link to them.
It sounds to me like having DeviantArt or ArtStation or something like that, or a website that shows your work, is probably really, really, really important these days, right?
Yes, because that was going to make my own website and all that, but it was going to cost me money, because I also have stock art on DriveThruRPG.
Does that make anything after that? And I'm not asking amounts, but does that make anything?
I made a little bit. But I'm also just starting out. I think I might have 10 pieces of art on there right now. I'm behind because I have like a bunch of sketchbooks with little flags and stuff I want to scan and make it into stock art and send it off. Now, however, where did I go before that? Oh, so I wanted to have my own site I wanted to have my own site with my stock art and a portfolio and all that, but it was going to cost money. And the thing hard part about being an artist is we use that. We use a different part of our brain. Yeah, we use a different part of our brain than you need to use to do business.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've learned from Levi and working with everybody that I've on books with and on RPGs was the business side, which I never learned when I was in comics.
Right.
And I learned so much now because of working, and not just indirectly learned because of working with Levi, because he's really good at promotional stuff and doing all that stuff. And I've learned so much from him business wise. I have my other client, Randy Hayes. He's actually I want to say he's a business consultant. So I talked to him and he said, this is what you need to do. He's like, you never have a business plan. And he said, also it's the object of a business is to have more money coming in than going out.
Sure.
And if you have a website, you still have to pay. I was going to have to pay like a lot of money to get a good website made.
Right.
This is also to do a e-commerce on there to sell stuff. It's going to cost even more. And then he goes, then you also have the possibilities of messing up the taxes and all that stuff. He goes, just keep your stuff on drive-through because they're going to do it. You just have to. I just have to upload the art and then I just collect the check whenever somebody buys stuff.
Right.
And then he also suggested using ArtStation because he had two friends when he was looking for artists for his book. He talked to two people that were art directors, and he said I would put your portfolio on ArtStation because when I talked to both art directors, the first thing they did was go to ArtStation and look up stuff and look for artists.
Well, that's good. Okay. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I'm hoping to,
right.
Somebody who wants to get into the business.
So, and he said one of them was an old WotC. One of them was an old WotC art director too. So I was like, well, hell, I guess I need to go there then.
Yeah. Well, it's like, in Hollywood, they're going to go to somebody's IMDb page. They don't have some database somewhere.
And the thing about ArtStation, it's free. So no one's going to, because I used to think, I think I had a blog spot page one time. I was trying to use it as a portfolio. But if you got two people that are art directors and that's the first place they go to ArtStation, I'm like, well, then I have to make my online portfolio there then because if two people out of all the art directors that's the first place they go to, then that probably means there's going to be a whole bunch of other art directors that will immediately go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. So, last question on kind of the business end, and then I'm going to start drawing us down. So a lot of people don't think about this before they get into stuff, but industries and different publishers within industries pay on different schedules. So do you normally like a net 30? Like when you finish a piece of art, on average, how long does it take you to get paid?
I have been very fortunate because my clients and the people I work with usually pay me easily within 24 hours easy.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
in general, do you think that's always the case? I think a lot of people are surprised that they may have to put in an invoice and wait to get paid.
Levi makes me do it an invoice, but that's just because so it's just a paper trail.
Sure, but I'm saying like in general in the art industry, like if you're
I have not had to chase anybody down to get paid. I turn my art. Usually, most of the people I work with is I don't even have to. I can turn in the high res stuff because I know that they're going to pay me within the next day.
No, that's fantastic.
I don't have to hold back. I work with a very, very good group of clients and amazing people.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. For people listening, just be aware that might not always be the case. You may have.
It might not be. I've heard horror stories.
Well, even if it's not somebody not wanting to pay you, there are some people that are going to put you on a net 30. They're like, we'll pay you within 30 days. That kind of thing. So I'm just on the business end. I was trying to kind of get to that. So I know you have a little bit of a history with comic books. I didn't even get a chance to ask you, are you a tabletop RPG gamer? Do you just kind of like to do art?
I wanted to do tabletop game art since the first time I ever got to look in a book, the Player's Handbook. And I played D&D with a kid down the road from us because he DM'd and I played. It was pretty fun and I really enjoyed it. So remember I took my allowance or whatever money I had, and I remember I ran out and I bought the red box set.
Sure.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And I bought that, and then I had no one to play with, and so I took the rules and I made up this like gladiator arena where I could have my little brother fight gladiators in there, and just I put the weapons stuck in the sand behind him, and they just basically it was just a roll for crit, roll and damage, stuff. And then if you beat him, you beat him, and if you lost, you lost, kind of thing. And then so that would be maybe 83 around 80 in the early 80s, and I got in the military and I met some people that played D&D, and I played with them. We played every Sunday with them. And then I left that base and I went to another base, and I played once or twice with them. And I think when I got out, I played in the late 90s. There was a program you could chat, you could type in, and I think you even had dice you could roll and see everyone's dice rolls and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I DM'd there for a little bit, and after that it was just kind of
So your main experience has been with D&D.
It has, and then I just played last weekend. I finally played because I've been doing games for 2 or 3 years, and I still hadn't had time to play any games.
You're doing art for them, and you haven't had time to play.
I was, and then I remember I was on. You listen to Ryan Howard's Rolling Bones podcast? I'm
familiar with it, or I've heard of it.
He cursed me. That kid cursed me because he goes, "Yeah, I'm teasing you, Ryan." Because during the interview he goes, "So I know a lot of people do the art." He goes, "Any interest in making games, your own game and stuff?" And I'm like, "Nah, I just like doing the art, And then about a week later, my son my 10-year-old found out what I did. He goes, "Oh, Dad, we should make our own game. I have an idea," and starts pelting me with all these ideas. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, right. Ryan Howard shaking my fist. "I'm gonna get you."
Funny. That funny.
So we've been writing crazy stuff down, and so I did that, and then I did some art for a guy, and then he was making his own game. He was like, "Would you make some art for my game?" I'm like, "Sure." So he did a commission for me for a black and white piece. And then a little while later, my good buddy, this is how I met my buddy Brian Shutter. He was like, "Hey, just wanted to message you. The guy Eric Webb bought this piece of art from you, and he told me I had to put it in my book, and I'm going to put it it was okay if I put it in my book." I'm like, "Sure." And from there on, Brian and I have been good friends, and I actually got to play his game, the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, not this weekend, but I played it the weekend before. And it was the first time I played since I've been in games for 3 years. And it was glorious. I was worried I was going to suck, and it was going to be the guy that was horrible at the game, and it was just like riding a bike. And I was like, "Oh, I know what to do. Let's,
Well, I'm glad spending so much time working in the industry that you got a chance to play. And that's a great name for a game. So, man, I've really enjoyed this, but I got to get us wrapped up here. I hope that, you continue to have plenty of work in the tabletop RPG industry. I hope, if you do more graphic novels, I hope that they go well. And as a reminder, we've been talking with Ed Bickford of Metal Robot. He's a very cool artist. I'll put links in the show notes at shaneplays.com. People definitely need to go check his stuff out. So Ed, I do this every episode. We got to do the bad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Okay.
Here it comes. Okay, so brace yourself. Ed, how do you make a waterbed more bouncy?
I don't know.
Add spring water. There you go. Yes.
How do you make it holy water?
You punch holes in it, I guess.
You boil the hell out of it.
Oh, that's nice. Very nice. Okay. All right, Ed, it's been a treat. I look forward to continuing to keep up with your work, and hopefully I'll catch you next year at North Texas RPG Con.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And everybody, we will catch you next time on Shane Plays Geek Talk. Thanks so much for listening to Shane Plays Geek Talk. I certainly hope you enjoyed this journey into the things we love. For your convenience, show notes with helpful links for each episode can always be found at shaneplays.com. You can catch the podcast in several places, including on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, Amazon Music, Verbal, YouTube, and more. Shane Plays is also carried on sci-fi.radio. Sci-fi.radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. SCIFI.radio. If you like what you hear and would like to support Shane Plays Geek Talk, you can do so for as little as $1 per episode on Patreon at patreon.com/ShanePlays. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Stay geeky, my friends.